Pokemon is turning 30 years old this year. That's quite a long time. But in the card department at the Pokemon Company International, instead of celebrating, they might be sweating this fall. And why is that? That's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about in today's episode. So here we go. A little cute Pikachu mascot, and along with it, Pokemon is turning 30 years old this year. So traditionally, like every 5 years, because that's the schedule Pokemon follows for these big celebrations, at least. The last two times we had, right? Generations and then celebrations. For the 30th anniversary, we should also obviously expect a special set, which will reach us, well, estimates say probably in the fall. Alright, but I started off a bit controversially by saying that for the Pokemon Company, this might not be such an easy celebration and it could involve some kind of logistical problems. Why? Well, I'll go back then to January 2025, to a fairly big event that actually started this whole market and distribution cycle we're in now, which is the release of Prismatic Evolution. The release of Prismatic Evolution, despite generating massive hype around the brand and around card collecting, as such, it seemed very positive for building up all that interest. However, what Pokemon definitely failed at was what happened to their product at launch. The product at the suggested retail price, MSRP, was nearly impossible. I myself, stores sometimes brought in small quantities if someone was there on release day, right at the start. Sometimes you could also get it at some local shops, bookstores, or markets. But the truth was that even before the release, pre-orderees were completely sold out. Well, and whenever anything appeared on release day, it practically vanished. Scalpers were carrying out entire pallets of this product from Costco, Walmart, and Best Buy in the United States, and in Europe at local stores that, to a greater or lesser extent, distributed those cute EV boxes. However, the unpleasant consequence for the Pokemon Company was primarily the PR reception from dedicated fans who were used to opening booster packs. Well, they didn't open Prismatic for a simple reason. The stock just wasn't there. That's why the Pokemon Company announced right at the launch. They put out a statement that there'd be reprints, plenty of it. They apologized for the availability issues, but said they'd be resolved. Were they? Well, they weren't resolved. Of course, a lot of stock, especially in the United States, poured out. All those bundles, 2-packs, and those ETBs. But here in Europe, we actually, besides one strong drop of bundles we had around the summer holidays, back then, bundles also appeared in large quantities in Scandinavia, later also in Spain. So, those bundles appeared, and that was actually the best buying opportunity in Europe when it comes to Prismatic. Meaning those bundles that were at an absolute low back then. Because I'm talking about general product availability, not the kind where a product appeared on some site for 2 minutes and was taken down by bots or scalpers. No, I'm talking about a price that stayed for a week, 2 weeks in stores. And that was probably the best opportunity for Prismatica available in Europe. Those bundles around 45, 50 euros? Cheaper? It wasn't. It wasn't cheaper, and it probably won't be cheaper anymore. The set is well over a year old, and the Pokemon Company, with its recent decisions, is definitely showing what it's actually preparing for. It's preparing for the 30th anniversary, because while Prismatic Evolution might have surprised the Pokemon Company, the popularity of Pokemon Pocket, the return to all this, the scale of it could have surprised the Pokemon Company. Of course, to some extent, it was understandable that this product was somewhat lacking in January 2025. It was also that staggered release, yet we had different products coming in at different times. Well, in January, we had those ETBs then. Blisters, posters, binders, and those subsequent releases actually had very little stock. And that stock was already very, very heavily, staked out by scalpers. And it was even harder to get, really, than in January. So while the Pokemon Company could be forgiven for this, well, let's say Prismatic surprise. Even though everyone knew it would be a popular set, it was just a matter of scale. Then a year and a half later, in the fall of 2026, if the Pokemon Company defends itself or is surprised again, then unfortunately, fans might not buy it. And especially for those hardcore fans who followed the brand for many, many years, if they can't buy the 30th anniversary products at normal, non-scalper prices, well, that could be a really major PR disaster. And the Pokemon Company really wants to prevent that. How are they trying to prevent it? Based on our information, understanding the facts, and connecting the dots, it seems the Pokemon Company has been printing the 30th anniversary for many, many months now. At least since after ME01, because ME01 still hit the stores in very large quantities. ME02 in much smaller amounts, while for ME03, ME04, and M2.5, well, those quantities are so significantly lower than what we had even in those previous sets that, well, the Pokemon printers aren't just standing around waiting to see what happens, but they're probably churning out that cardboard as fast as they possibly can. So if they're not printing these new sets, and they could, because we know from M01 that we have the capacity, then what are they being used for? For reprints? If they were reprints, we'd actually see them. Boxes would be hitting the market in large quantities, but they aren't. We had some leftover drops of 151 tins. Before the holidays, Stellar boxes, Surging Sparks, then Destiny Rivals. Yeah, they're appearing in some quantities. However, these aren't the kind of volumes that would explain the supply shortages for these sets. The current ones, you could say. This can only be explained by the massive printing of the next anniversary set. And that's probably how it really is. It's hard to find any other logical explanation. So in my opinion, the question isn't whether there will be a lot of product. There will be a lot of it. There will be a whole lot. But the real question is this. Is there some kind of ceiling to the market's ability to absorb this product to the point where this merchandise actually reaches people at affordable prices? That's a tough question. If I were on the side of the fence where the people at the Pokemon Company sit, I'd definitely be trying to prepare for this to the absolute max. Using every bit of space to print for this 30th anniversary, maybe even buying up printing slots from other card games. Those things have happened before, just to print as much of this product as Y as possible. And again, we'll probably have that proven staggered release for these special sets, with various products coming out, first for the 30th anniversary launch, and then a month or two later. That'll somehow build a wave for the upcoming product. And maybe indeed these subsequent waves, maybe not ETBs, but some other boxes with promos for the 30th anniversary. These products, yeah, and the later waves, I think if they really push a scale we haven't seen before, then these products could actually put 30th anniversary boosters into people's hands on an affordable price. And I hope that happens because we all want to celebrate, we all want to have fun, we all want to open cards that will surely be beautiful and will be in there. Whether they're cards from the main sets or some promos appearing in extra sets, I hope there's as much as possible and that as much as possible hits the market. Even though I'm an optimist at heart, I also have a realistic side that considers the possibility that a worst-case scenario might happen and the stock will be bought out instantly. Stores will hold on to even very large allocations to try and monetize everything on release day. And if this stock doesn't come in such a critical mass that it's simply impossible for the market of investors, collectors, and scalpers, and all those people with deep pockets who'd probably like to make a good profit on this product to absorb, then it might turn out that these products will have as big a problem as, say, with Prismatic or even with Ascended Heroes, which most people didn't get at the suggested retail price, or even close to it either. So I'll definitely be trying, first and foremost, to secure some ETBs, and I think for my private collection, at least one case of these ETBs as soon as the opportunity arises, and the price is tolerable. I think it'll be fairly tolerable once the stores get their allocations. The Pokemon Company will reveal their hand, allocations will reach the stores, there'll be big stores that'll know they don't have that much liquidity, products might hit the market at affordable prices. That's when it'll be worth striking. Of course, as always, it's worth playing the lottery with the Pokemon Center to try and snag a Pokemon Center ETB. But I know full well that you sometimes win such a lottery when you least expect it. And sometimes you lose just when you're sure you've won it. Good luck if you're going in that direction too. And be sure to share with us in the comments what your plan is for the 30th anniversary. Are you saving up money to open this set? Or are you saving up to put it away in a closet? And if so, at what point will you be hunting for it? How much our strategies differ? And actually, to everyone, well in advance, I wish you a successful celebration of the 30th anniversary with Pokemon, because this whole year will actually be focused on this 30th anniversary.